Hi guys, Darkest Star here, and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Get to Know Me, and let's get to know you. Today I have collected, I think 12 of my favorite blockbuster horror films. And when I say blockbuster horror films, I mean movies that's been well received. They had a huge success on the cinema. So no low budget Italian horror movies. I'm not saying those are worthless, but I wanted to keep it a two-section thing, you know. The low budget ones and the more huge ones. So today we are going to discuss my 12 most loved horror films. I also had a little question from, I don't remember the name. Someone asked me where my dogs got their name from, I think. And Loppy. Her name is Loppan, which means flea, because she jumps around a lot. And the other one is Nasse, and that's piglet in English, you know, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, because when I got him, he was so small, he was just like a little bean, and he had like a red and white sweater on him, striped, and he was white, so he looked like a little piglet. So, alright, let's dig into the movies, and there are no specific order, so number 10 or 12 isn't better or worse than, you know. So let's just take one. I'm going to start with this one. This is George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. And as a little special thing, when I made my first list, do you remember that Lucio Fulci's Zombie was actually called Zombie 2 in Italy? Well, here we have another one with Zombie 2. I think that's in Germany, it's called Zombie 2. So it's pretty hard to, you know, keep up with all those. Anyway, this is about a gang of doctors and military who holds up in an underground bunker during a zombie apocalypse. It's gory, it's suspenseful, and it's one of the best zombie movies ever made. So, Day of the Dead. It's the third in Romero's trilogy. Well, it is actually it is Night of the Living Dead, 1968, right? Or 69. It's Dawn of the Dead. Sorry. Dawn of the Dead from 79, and it's Day of the Dead from 85. Then he made Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, and Land of the Dead. But the first three are the best. Another one that is dear to my heart is this. The first Hellraiser by Clive Barker, based on the book The Hellbound Heart, about a puzzle box who opens the door to pleasure or pain or both. And I think these are up to like 8 sequels. The three first are the best. After that, kind of. Anyway, Hellraiser, the original, will tear your soul apart. Well, I need to put these on a specific place so I don't mix them up. Next one is a movie that scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. It is Dracula by John Badham, and Frank Langella plays the Count. Also Donald Pleasance is in it, and Laurence Olivier. And it has music by John Williams, who also made Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, you know it. This is the classic story. Dracula comes to London and he buys a house, blah blah, you know, but it's a little bit different because this is the first Dracula movie in which Dracula is portrayed more like a romantic, tragic figure. In earlier movies he was more like a monster, like the Christopher Lee or the Gucci movies. But in this you're supposed to actually feel a bit for him, you know, root for him maybe. Anyway, the reason this one scared the hell out of me when I was a kid is that it's a scene where Mina, I think her name is, the first victim of Dracula, is very ill and sick, and I don't know. I think I got this explanation off the internet because no other vampire in the movie looks like that. But she almost has started to rot while she's alive, and then she dies and turns into a vampire. Anyway, she looks mega creepy when she comes back, as you can see. And that scene is so gross. I don't mean that it is, it's not gory in any way, but you know, they are down underneath the graveyard, and I think Van Helsing loses his flashlight or light, and you see Mina's toes, and the camera pans up, and she's like, this picture can't really describe how she looks in the movie because those eyes are blood red, and they are like oozing with blood, and her skin is all rotting, and she talks in some kind of Slavic language. At first I thought she spoke Swedish, but I think it's some other. Anyway, it's a creepy ass scene, and it's a really good Dracula movie, if you like Dracula. So, Dracula. Next up, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But this is number one. It's both movies on this DVD. And the one I love most is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is a hilarious, almost a parody of the first one. It's awesome. It contains so many cool one-liners. It has Dennis Hopper in a chainsaw duel with Leatherface. It has Bill Moseley playing Chop Top, a crazy Vietnam vet who is brother with Leatherface, and he has a steel plate in his head which he scratches with a piece of metal all the time, and then he eats it's hilarious. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. 1 is also of course very good, but I find it a bit slow. But number 2. When we talk about number 2, let's take this one. Yes, it's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. And, you know, my channel is often about horror and vampires and grueling stuff. So I think I don't even need to, you know, describe what this movie is. But it is about, if I must say it quickly, one guy in a cabin with a possessed book, and every demon's imaginable attacks him, including his own hand, which he saws off and puts a chainsaw in it instead. There aren't so many pictures I can show you, unfortunately. It's a pretty... but there are some, I guess you can see. Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, the director behind Spider-Man, Drag Me to Hell, and Oz the Powerful or whatever. Kiss Your Nerves Goodbye. Evil Dead 2. we're back to zombie territory with Return of the Living Dead. It is a hilarious, gruesome and gory movie about two workers at the lab or at the storage facility who has kind of like barrels with a highly secret gas, and they accidentally release the gas in the neighborhood cemetery, which releases a bunch of hungry zombies who feast on brains. And on the graveyard there's a band of punk rockers having a party, and they get attacked, and they all take refuge in the warehouse, and it's hilarious. It also has one of the best soundtracks in a horror movie. It's the Damned, the Cramps, Rocky Erickson. It's hilarious, but at the same time scary. It's not, it's not like Naked Weapon silliness. Return of the Living Dead. Brains. Alright. Alright. Remake time. This is House on Haunted Hill. And it's one of the best horror films in modern times I've seen. I know this one gets a lot of shit because it contains some doubtable CGI monster in the end of it, which unfortunately looks a bit silly, I must admit it. But on the other hand, it's supernatural. Who knows what a mass of bodies ghostly thing looks like, right? Anyway, it's about a lot of guests in a haunted house who will spend the night, and if they manage to survive they will get an X amount of money. And of course the house is haunted and it goes into lockdown, and the whole house is controlled by a demented ghost, a doctor known as Dr. Vonnegut. And I have made some role plays with him. It contains a lot of creepy images, and I love this movie. It's so many details in it, like in the basement of the huge haunted house or hospital. They actually hired sculptures made from real humans, wax thingies from an old museum. And it's a lot of details, and Jeffrey Rush, who plays Barbosa in Pirates of the Caribbean, and in Quills he plays Marquis de Sade. Never mind, he's a very good actor. Plays this huge guy, the rich guy who has an amusement park. He's the one who arranges the competition. And it also have Famke Janssen, which I'm personally very fond of. I think she's one of the most beautiful women ever to grace the planet. So yeah, House on Haunted Hill. And Marilyn Manson made a soundtrack. He made a remake too of Sweet Dreams, which is in this Ace movie. Now we're stepping back in time to 1982 and Poltergeist. Now, this is the best ghost picture I've ever seen. And it's a combination of Steven Spielberg. It is directed by Tobe Hooper, but rumor says that Steven Spielberg was actually the one pulling the strings. And you can kind of feel it. It has that Spielberg magic, like E.T. And another factor is that Jerry Goldsmith, who also made music for Gremlins, Goonies, I think, Legend, made an extremely well done soundtrack. It's both eerie, it's beautiful, and it's mysterious. This is the perfect ghost house paranormal movie. It contains nothing but there are some scenes that haven't aged really well, like a possessed tree which looks like a miniature now, but it's excellent. I love this movie, and for God's sake don't watch the remake, because that was so bad I wanted to cut my eyes out. But this is the original Poltergeist. And now we are into a little arty territory. This is Neil Jordan's Company of Wolves, which is a fairy tale werewolf movie. It has werewolves, it has Little Red Riding Hood, it has skinless werewolves, it has werewolves girls, and I love it. It's very artistic. You won't get it the first time you see it, because it has a lot of undertones, a lot of images that you have to think hard about. Like Rosalind, who plays the main character of Red Riding Hood, kind of climbs a tree, and she finds eggs which have little statues of babies in them. It's very poetic, it's very special, but it's fantastic. And the music in this one is also magic. It's a beautiful film. And it stars Angela Lansbury, David Warner, Terence Stamp. It's an amazing movie, and I recommend it highly if you like werewolves movies, fairy tale movies, just beautiful movies. And now, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. There's not much to say about this one. It is the first Freddy Krueger movie. It holds up to this day. And if you don't know anything about A Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm a bit sad, because I don't know if there's so much I can tell you more than go watch it if you haven't. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, this one I have here is actually a movie I brought up last time I did this video, or when I did part 1, when Barrowin asked if there was a movie that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, and I brought up this Ghost Story. And it's a story of an of a club of gentlemen, older ones, and there are only classic actors like Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., John Houseman. It's a lot of and Alice Craig, who plays the main ghost. Anyway, these old men has a secret, and they are haunted by this beautiful woman, but she isn't a woman, she's a ghost. And as I told you in the last video, it's full of creepy images. Unfortunately, this DVD only have one image of the horrible face I mentioned, but this is one of the less horrible. She looks much more horrible in the beginning. I want to recommend this. It's a little bit on the slow side. It's a slow burner, but it's very good. And the music is excellent, and there are like matte paintings, but I don't remember who his name is. And the old guys, they play this so well. Ghost Story, 1981. Yeah. Ooh. There's only 2 movies left. I will start with a lesser one. Also a ghost film. This is Amityville 3. Now, the reason I chose number 3 is that because it contains the most action for an Amityville house. It's pretty straightforward, you know, and there are some horrible things happening, and there's a lot of, you know, ghostly activities. It might be a bit on the silly side, but I like this best in the Amityville series because it has most going on in it. It's the house is still possessed, it's a new family, Meg Ryan is in it as Harper, Candy Clark, Richard Fleischer has directed it. Amityville 3. In Sweden, these movies are called The House That God Forgot, which is a pretty, I don't know, I think that title is suitable. The House That God Forget. Yeah. And finally, my all-time favorite. So in a way it ended with the best film last. This is The Shining. And again, if you have not seen it, I pity you. Or if you don't like horror films, then I can understand. But if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen The Shining, what's wrong with you? This is Stanley Kubrick's version of Stephen King's novel. It's not very similar to the book, which Stephen King has pointed out several times. He even made his own version, which I also like, by the way. But yeah, it's about Jack Nicholson playing Jack Torrance, who takes a job with his family of wife and kid, watching over a isolated hotel during the winter. An hotel who has a creepy story with murders and suicides and stuff. And slowly the ghosts of the hotel takes over poor Jack's mind. Until, you know, classic scenes like "Here's Johnny," which is, by the way, that one. It has extremely good atmosphere. It has horrible soundtrack, and I don't mean horrible as in bad, but as in claustrophobic, and you know, and it stars Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, Scatman Crothers, Jack Nicholson, of course, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole cast. I mean, there are more people in it, like Joe Turkel, for instance, and you know. But those are the main characters, and it's claustrophobic, it's horrifying, and a scene where Jack finds a naked lady in one of the rooms only to have her transform into a rotting corpse is one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen. So, The Shining. I'm right behind ya, you can't get away. So that's my most beloved horror movies, blockbusters. There are other movies like the new It that I would like to add to this, but I don't have it on Blu-ray or DVD, and I kind of like, I only try to, it's hard, you know, when you don't have the movie to kind of remember it. Like, I actually didn't find House of Haunted Hill first because I had misplaced it in the comedy section of my videos, and I was like, should I try to remember it? And then I found it. But I would like to add the new It, which is a fantastic version of Stephen King's book, and Bill Skarsgård makes an excellent Pennywise. Don't let anyone say anything else. Alright, I want you to write down your favorite horror movies, blockbuster movies or horror movies in the comment section, so I might get some tips from you and you might have gotten some tips from me. So next time, I don't know, maybe games, maybe my 10 favorite action movies. Why don't you tell me what you want to know about me and what I like? It could be everything. Food, booze, beer. You go ahead, only the imagination sets the limit. I love you guys. Remember, there can't be any light without darkness. And I will see you in the next video.